What's up, guys? Welcome back for another home theater hangout. Today we have special guest Nick Brown from SVS. What's up, Nick?
How you doing, Shane? Pleasure to be here, my friend.
Yeah, a little weird I haven't had you on here a little bit sooner because I've reviewed your stuff for the past like 6 years now. So it's a treat. I finally did get to meet Nick. I want to say a few months ago at Audio Advice Live. Sorry, at an audio show a couple months ago. So, that was a nice little treat there. But guys, before we actually kick off what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about like subwoofer setup and then how to integrate the app, stuff like that, and then take some of your questions. But before we get started, I want to thank today's channel partner, Mint Mobile. Guys, I want to take a minute to thank today's channel partner of the Home Theater Hangout, Mint Mobile. For a limited time, don't miss out on the chance to get 3 months free service when you buy any 3-month plan. Wireless plans for Mint Mobile start at just $15 a month. For $30 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for just only $30 a month. You know, before I came to Mint Mobile, I was paying triple what I'm paying now from one of the bigger wireless providers, and I will never go back. All plans come with unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all of your existing contacts to get your new wireless plan starting at just $15 a month. And get the plan shipped right to your door for free. Go to trymintmobile.com/Shane Lee. That's trymintmobile.com/Shane Lee. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at trymintmobile.com/Shane. That is trymintmobile.com/Shane Lee. Guys, save money on your wireless bill. Help the channel. Check it out. Get 3 months free if you sign up for 3 months. Thanks again, Mint Mobile. All right. With that out of the way, let's talk about SVS really quick. Listen, my introduction to SVS began way back, I want to say 2012, 2010 maybe. I actually had some of you I don't forget the model numbers, but it was like your first passive cylinder subs. It came with a Samson amp, I believe. And those things rocked back in the day. I don't know why more people don't make cylinder subs because I love those cylinder subs, especially the PC4000. That did me well for many years until I started watching War of the Worlds. That scene where the thunder was clapping, when they were in the backyard, then they run to the table. That's one of those scenes you keep turning up and turning up. And finally, one of the subs did give out. I just heard just that. I was like, oh no. But then shortly after that, I did upgrade to the PB16. That was about when I started the YouTube channel, and that's one of my first subwoofer reviews, if not the first subwoofer review. And then from then on, I kind of springboard my YouTube subwoofer reviewing career from those SVSs, and I've reviewed like 40, 50 other subs since then. So I'm going to say that SVS helped me get my start onto YouTube. So thanks, SVS.
Our pleasure. Hey, you said passive? We had a passive amp? That predates me even. That goes way back in the day.
Was it? Yeah.
Way back.
Yeah, those things rock, dude. But today let's talk about some subwoofer basics. We haven't really talked about it too much on this channel, but for the guys that I think SVS is kind of like that sub where it's a really good starting point because you have so many models. It's like everybody's like first real good sub. Like if you're starting off like with the 1000 series or 2000 series, and then eventually you just graduate up the ladder to you get into like your real good stuff. So for the guys that are just like starting out, what are some general good practices on how to set up a subwoofer, and what would you recommend for people considering throughout all your different models? Like how would you go pick a specific model for your specific room?
Yeah, there's some great questions there. And, the first thing I would like to say is, with all of our subwoofers, whether you're saving up, months and months and months to get what we consider our entry level model, our 1000 Pro series, or whether you are throwing down for a pair of our PB16 Ultras, they're all going to provide the same experience. And that's one big thing that SVS does is to create a total ownership experience, through our customer service, through some of the policies that we have, through, our dealer network and everything. So you're not compromising, you're not getting an entry level sub when you start with the 1000 Pro. A lot of it comes down to, yeah, budget's a factor, but how big is your room? What are your listening preferences? Are you wanting to crank it to reference volume, or are you comfortable listening at more moderate levels? Do you have a very large open space that, will require a ported subwoofer to really energize a large seating area? So there's a lot of factors that come into play, that come before just, well, I'm getting a better, higher performance subwoofer if I spend more. Yes, that's true, but you don't necessarily have to max out. And, one of the funny things that I always hear from Ed Mullen, our director of customer service, is he's getting these people who's like, I got a 10 by 12 room. I want to get 4 PB16 Ultras. I am just like an insane bass head. And we have to like talk them off the ledge. We're like, you're going to just have so much wasted headroom there that even if you are cranking, to the limits of what you can tolerate, it's just not even like getting one, fifth of the way of what these things can do. So bring it down a level, take a PB3000, a pair of those, start there and build your way up. So, it's just one thing that we try to educate folks on. Even if you do have those extreme tastes and listening preferences, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to get the biggest, most expensive sub to satisfy those needs.
All right, so let's start off. Let's say you just picked up one subwoofer for your room. How do you know that you're getting good sound? And how would you work around getting, if you for better sound? Like how would you know? How could you tell that? How could you tell the folks that don't know if they're getting good bass in their room?
Yeah, so there's 5 things, and whether it's an SVS subwoofer or one from another brand, there's really 5 things you should listen for, with any subwoofer. And the first thing is, can it extend below the level of human audibility, which generally is considered 20 hertz? Does it hit that infrasonic level where literally you're feeling visceral bass? The second thing, is it accurate in frequency response? Is it playing the right notes in the right amount and not overemphasizing, say, the mid bass region, which some lesser subwoofers will do to make them sound louder and more powerful than they actually are? But then when it hits, those deeper frequencies, it sort of peters out and it leaves you wanting more. It also has to be able to play to whatever volume you want and hit those notes with authority, and not, again, leave you wanting more if you're really cranking it up on a action movie scene or a big bass drop or something like that. It's got to hit those reference output levels. One of the things that we take great pride in with our sealed subwoofers specifically, but even the gap that we've narrowed with our ported subwoofers, is transient speed, which is the 4th thing, that ability to stop and start on a dime to create that sort of crisp transition from one note to the next and not have any sort of bloated overhang or anything that sort of muddies up the soundstage. And then the last one, which I think is a really underrated quality, is it blending with your speakers seamlessly? Does it sound like the bass is coming from each individual speaker all around you, or is it localized where you're like, okay, I can hear the bass coming from the subwoofer, it's in that corner? And a lot of that has to do with where you place it, how you calibrate it, how you get it all set up. But if your subwoofer can do those 5 things well, then whether it's an SVS or not, it's doing its job well, and you've made a good choice.
How does here's a question for you. How does group delay affect a subwoofer's performance?
I'll let one of the experts take that one.
Donnie?
I mean, that's all in your setup and your measurements. I mean, you're going to have a little bit of group delay on your transition to your main speakers. You just have to take the time. Now, one of the things about SVS subs that I love is the flexibility. I've got a pair of PB3000s, and I love the flexibility and the controllability from the app that you're able to do. But I think it's really blending it. You're always going to have some group delay on that, but I mean, you can minimize that quite a bit in blending that with your main speakers. That makes sense.
Yes. Would you, for the people that say, you should always go with like 2 subwoofers, would you recommend 2 subwoofers over 1? Like, what are the benefits of adding multiples? And should they be equal numbers of subwoofers, or can you go like 3 or 5? Should it always be like 2 or 4 or 6?
I believe everybody should have 2 minimum.
That's our general recommendation. You know, if you have a smaller space, you can certainly pressurize a room with one, and especially if it's a smaller seating area. But the benefits of dual are numerous, and we often tell people, you know, you got X budget, cut it in half and buy two subwoofers. You know, as opposed to saving up and buying two that you may not ever need that extra headroom. It's really about just even bass response. I think it's pretty commonly known. You know, you just get a flatter frequency response at all the seating areas when you add that second subwoofer. And then, that's multiplied even more when you have two in the back, or, however you position them. It just gives you better saturation of the sound waves throughout the room. So you're not getting those nulls and peaks where it's really boomy in one spot, and then you take a step to your left, and then it's sort of, there's this suck out of bass that you're no longer experiencing it. As far as the odd number of subwoofers, one of the things that we've seen is, you go with duals to try to even out the bass response. Some people will get a third one and put it either right next to their listening position or right behind it to get that sort of butt kicker effect. It's not the same as a transducer, but having a subwoofer that close to you can provide a little bit more of that tactile feeling of, just the infrasonics hitting you a little bit harder. There is some things you'll generally want to do with adjusting, either the phase, if they're going to be spaced considerably further from the front two or the main two subwoofers. But that is an application where we've seen three, but generally they do come in pairs that we've seen. So, 2 to 4 to 6, it's all it's all relative to what you can fit in your room. And then now, I think you've done a broadcast about the Trinov waveforming. I mean, they want you to buy like 10, 12, 20, which I got no problem with that. But practically speaking, it's generally 2 or 4 is going to get you the best performance.
Yeah, I got to hear that at CD. I don't know if you did, Nick, the waveforming. I mean,
insane.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So something that I want to talk about real quick, and I don't want to hijack this, but I see a lot of people buy dual subs and put it their left and the right on the outside, 2 subs and whatever cabinetry or center channel they have. That's not, I mean, aesthetically that looks great, but you're really minimizing the multi-sub effect when you do that. I would always recommend, and I do recommend, if you're going to only do 2 subs, to do one in the front, and if possible, do one in the back. I like opposing corners. That's not necessarily the right way to do it, but you're going to get, I know aesthetically it looks great and it looks mean. Your friends come over and you drink a beer and you're like, look at that. But your best performance, your left and right speakers do not, contrary to the old wives' tales, you don't have to have your left and right as wide as possible and to create that triangle. You can move those in. So if you're going to do that, if you're going to keep them both in the front, move them to the corner if you can, or against the wall so you can get that gain advantage on that. But really, ideally, if you're going to do 2, one in the front, one in the back, is going to even out that bass response in the room. I think Nick would back me up on that, and I've experienced it multiple times.
Yeah, if you have every placement option, opposing corners with duals is generally the best way to get that most even bass response.
Yeah, that works best for my room too. Like every time I do a review, it's always opposite corners, front and rear.
Absolutely. Yeah. Or do 3 or 4 is what you really should do. Then have 2 in the back, 2 in the front.
So when testing out subwoofers, is there like a specific like demo scene that you would recommend? Because I remember, well, not remember. I just brought up watching War of the Worlds a few minutes ago, and before you give your answer, I know Nick wants to give away a subwoofer today. What was the model?
We are going to do an SB1000 Pro. That's our most popular model. So you'll decide who's going to take that home. But we're happy to be a part of the broadcast here, and we want to send somebody home with a nice bass maker. So that's
very
what we'll do today.
Thank you, Nick.
That is an awesome gift. So thank you guys for all hanging out on the stream with us today. So if you do want to be entered, which we're going to announce the winner at the end of the stream in about another hour or so, we're going to talk about a good little demo scene that you can test out if you're getting good response in your room, something you probably have watched many times over and over again that you're familiar with. So you guys drop down your recommended demo scene that you guys use for your systems, where you go back to over and over again just to make sure that you're getting great bass out of your systems. What demo scene do you guys use? Leave it in the comment section below. Don is going to pick the winner with the answer that he likes the most, and then at the end of the stream we'll announce the winner. But Nick, is there like a demo scene that you would recommend using, that you like to use personally?
So we do a lot of the shows. I think we talked a little bit about it. And, you know, not picking just one. We kind of like to pick demos that emphasize different skill sets of the subwoofers. I went through those 5 different things. So one from a just pure output standpoint in terms of what can it do in terms of just pressurizing a space. I think Godzilla versus Kong, the first time they
Yeah.
meet and they just start going at it and throwing haymakers and there's missiles going off and ships being torn apart, like that from a perspective of like, can a subwoofer handle just nonstop action and beat down like that is a torture test, similar to Edge of Tomorrow, which I think most people, know about because of how low it goes and how, there's literally YouTube videos of subwoofer drivers being torn apart playing that opening sequence. But then there's some more subtle ones. Mission Impossible Rogue Nation has a great car chase scene that's really good at showing off the transient speed. Same with Baby Driver. It's got, the clutch being slammed on, the brakes being hit, and it's like very quick, sort of staccato level bass. So those are great tracks when you want to show off just how quick and how transient a subwoofer is. And then I love the Rammstein live from I think it's Paris or Prague or whatever it is. They got a demo disc that Blu-ray live concerts aren't always produced well, but this one's just done really, really well. And it creates that sense of sonic realism of having that just stacked array of subwoofers in front of you, and making you feel like you're at a live concert. So those are 3 or 4 that I really like to show off different
What
qualities.
was that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle that you were playing at your demo? I thought that was pretty dope.
If Larry was here, he could tell you all about it. But it's the one with Megan Fox.
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact year that it was released, but it's quite old. But they have this scene where they're going down a mountain, and it does get down to about 12 hertz. We had it playing at Cedia, and it was like moving all the posters that we had. The amount of air that was going through that space that we had was just like waving pant legs and posters that we had. So it was pretty intense.
So what's cool about the audio shows is every time SVS comes, they come loaded, and you guys do full surround demos, which is cool because the audio shows are primarily 2-channel, and as we all know, that's not the biggest genre on the planet. And I love that and I applaud that you guys come in and you do a full surround deployment. I'd like to see more audio companies get into multi-channel music and start doing multiple speakers in these rooms instead of just dedicated 2-channel.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What do you got, Zach? What's your favorite demo scene?
I've been using that Dune scene a lot recently. It hits pretty low. Sounds amazing. And you feel the sand rotating around the room for Dolby Atmos. It's probably been my favorite recently.
Oh, the eyeball scene at the start?
When they're in the desert and the things
yeah.
are coming up, they're landing the spaceship down, trying to rescue the kid, and the ground's like, literally as the bass is hitting, the sand is kind of jumping.
Yeah.
You feel all the da-da, da-da. It gets pretty low. I got a couple of your PV16 Ultras up in the theater room right now, Nick. And I'm needing to do a video on the Marantz Dirac Live and the bass management for 4 independent subs. We can get into some of the settings on multi-sub setup with that configuration, but right now it's on the back burner.
Let's talk about your the SVS app. Is SVS the first one to come up with an app? I think so, right?
We were one of the first. I think Velodyne might have had a sort of an early version. So we're not going to sit here and tout ourselves for being the first, but ours I think was probably the most polished when it came out. And it just allows you to have a little bit more granular control and more so better convenience. If you've done subwoofer tuning where it's walking behind the sub, turning a knob, walking back to your seat, does it sound better? Does it not? I don't know. And that sort of tweaking process can be a little bit annoying and arduous. So, being able to sit in the sweet spot, make adjustments to, your different filters, the phase, the polarity. And then if you're going to go as far as adjusting parametric EQ to smooth out certain anomalies within the room, you can go that far as well. But it's really a convenience factor and, allowing you to have even presets where, it's late night. I got to put it in spouse mode, I'll say, because we don't believe in, wife acceptance factor. It's spouse mode, or night mode, or whatever you want to call it. But you can dial it down, but then keep your settings in place for when you're allowed to really unleash it. So it's just there's a lot of functionality in there that helps you tune it a little bit more granularly, and then also have just that lifestyle experience that's a little bit more convenient.
It's the best app in the business that I've used. You talk about the Velodyne. That was such a Spartan app. I mean, it was a long time ago, but the SVS app is completely comprehensive and gives you a ton of tools that I just don't see in other manufacturers. Maybe per listen, but 4 times the price.
Yeah.
And we have plans for next year, and I guess Gary's not here, our CEO, so I can spill a little bit of beans, to add an element of room correction to it. Right now it's primarily controlling the subwoofer, but this will actually allow you to take some measurements and incorporate that aspect of it, as opposed to bringing in a third party to do that. So that's an exciting announcement that we just started working on now, but should be ready sometime in 2024.
Wow. Would that be done via your phone's inbuilt mic or like external mic?
Hopefully either one. I think you can get a little bit more sensitive mic, and you might get more better measurements, but the goal is to have it either or.
Oh, that's cool. I would assume that it would probably work really well in iPhones, because there's only like one iPhone and they have like just one kind of microphone in all their phones, whereas an Android phone has very different microphones. I'm just wondering how that would work, but it's probably really technical. But
yeah,
that's
I'm not the person to answer that best, but I'm sure Smith and our design team are putting it through the paces now, and we'll get it to where it needs to be before we make an announcement.
Now, it's been a while since I used your app. How many PEQs do you have adjustable? Is it just 3, or was it more than that?
3 discrete PEQs, and again, that's another thing we're revisiting with the next app update. Will be extending those out as well.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier. I was like, man, because I've seen like a bunch that have like 3 different banks, and then with like 10 different ones, and I was like, I think SVS only has 3. So I was just wondering if there would be an update for that, but it sounds like there will be.
We're working on it.
Yeah. There was a question here earlier about, where was it here? It's John Sandoval in the chat today. Let me scroll up here. Something about, you saw it right, repair SVS. Man, it's way up at the top here. Is there any recommendations or tips on eliminating port chuffing on a ported PB3000 sub while still being able to get that deep punch?
So we have our port tuning modes. You can actually run your PB3000 or any current model SVS subwoofer in sealed mode, which would pretty much eliminate any chuffing you're experiencing. It may be a case where it's not properly blended with the speakers, or you are running it a little too hard. But these are things that if you reach out to our support team, they can go through all the settings on the subwoofer, on the AV receiver, make sure that it's properly calibrated. And those are the best things that you can do to really mitigate that. And then if you have the port tuning, we provide basically foam plugs that go within the ports. You change the setting on the app, which actually changes the tuning frequency, and then you get a little bit tighter bass. You do sacrifice a little bit of extension in favor of greater output. So you may notice that it's not going quite as deep, but the PB3000 I think is rated down to about 17 hertz as it is. So you'll be down at about 18, 19 hertz, but have a little bit greater output. So those are a couple different ways that you can go about mitigating that, or you can go dual. So that's another way, and then you're not running a single subwoofer quite as hot.
Yeah. What now? You guys got sealed and ported, obviously. How would you tell somebody what is the best sub for their room? A sealed sub or a ported sub? What is the benefit of sealed sub over a ported sub? Why would you choose one over the other?
Can I hear Zach's answer first, and then I can add color to it? I just want to hear him talk. I'm happy to offer my insights, but I've actually heard him answer this before, and he does a really good job. But I'm more than happy to jump in.
Oh boy!
Yeah, at the end of the day, between ported and sealed subs, you're just going to get. I mean, we've kind of talked about it a little bit already on this podcast. You're just going to get a tighter more accurate bass response, especially for like 2-channel listening. We're going to recommend sealed subwoofers, and you're going to get more response out of ported. But a lot of the ported subs that you guys sell or all the ported subs that we've installed have port plugs, so you can kind of tune the ported subwoofers. I'm not sure if I'm answering this how you've heard me answer it in the past, Nick. You're kind of putting me on the spot here.
I am. I'm sorry.
But depending on the size of the room, I really personally prefer sealed subwoofers for that tighter bass response and doing more subwoofers versus doing a bigger ported sub. Like Don was saying earlier, minimum of 2 is recommended in the corners, front and back, especially if you're doing 2 rows of seating. But it really just depends on your overall budget. One thing we do really well here at Dream Media is take a look at your space and hand curate a complete package specific to your room and budget. So we can really dive into all of the different variants, whether you're going with like a 5.2.6, or you're going with a 7.2.4 or 7.4.4. We'll assess how many rows, the room conditions, and make the proper recommendations specific to your budget.
Zach, I think you nailed that one. So no reason to be nervous about answering that. I think you touched on it, but there's been this sort of long-standing theory that, sealed is for music and critical listening, and ported is for home theater and big action movies. And there's a grain of truth to that for sure, based on what the strengths that Zack just articulated. Sealed subwoofers are a little bit more quick with the transient speed. They are a little bit more accurate. They're able to move a little bit quicker, but the ported subwoofers are able to move more air, and they're able to fill a larger space. So especially if you have a very large listening area, generally you're going to want to go the way of ported. And because we have the tuning frequencies and the port plugs, you're able to actually turn your ported subwoofer into a sealed subwoofer if you wanted to have the benefit of, those benefits with critical listening of music and things like that and certain other content. So, I don't think they're better one than the other. We do sell a lot more sealed subwoofers at SVS, and I think that big part of that is just their size. They're about half the size of a ported subwoofer. So if you want to go dual, they're easier to fit in your room. I think they do everything well. As far as performance metrics go, they just lose a little bit in terms of the low frequency extension and the that overall dynamic output, but they're by no means slouches in any way. And when you factor in the fact that they're a little easier to place, and they have the benefits of greater accuracy, I think most people end up going with the sealed route. They're a little bit less expensive as well when you consider amplifier power and driver size, all things being equal. So there's a little bit of a cost savings there as well.
With that said, Nick, our best selling subwoofers for your entry-level theater is ported. We do a lot because you're going to get better response. We're kind of giving them a little more bang for their buck. We'll just throw it up in the front corner and install like a 5.1.2. So there's nothing wrong with ported.
Would you say that I wasn't 100% paying attention, but do ported subwoofers offer you more SPL over sealed subwoofers?
Yes, in general, yes. If the driver size and the amplifier power is the same, then the ported subwoofer is going to generate greater dynamic output, because it has more cabinet volume, and with the ports, it's moving more air, so it's just able to pressurize a space and just generate those higher sound pressure levels than a sealed cabinet subwoofer. But the sealed cabinet is what allows that type of subwoofer to be a little bit more transient and be a bit more accurate. So, the port's greatest benefit is also its greatest detraction when you're comparing it to sealed. So, it's just sort of a mixed bag. And there are, I've had conversations with people who they can't really do sealed subwoofers because that tight sound is just something about it, and the way it pressurizes a space is uncomfortable with how they listen. Whereas a port is a little bit more like making the room feel like it's breathing. So it's a little, I hate to use the term loose because it sort of has a negative connotation, but it's not as tight, which is more comfortable for some people to listen to depending on what kind of content you're into.
Huh, that's crazy. I've never heard that. That's
yeah, this one guy who was like, I have very sensitive hearing, and I tried the sealed subwoofer. I really wanted to love it, but it's like the way that it pressurized the room, it was like it just wasn't comfortable to listen to. And then I had a ported, and it was like, oh yeah, this is what I've been waiting for. So it's a preference thing too.
Well, sealed subs definitely they roll off not as quick as a ported sub does. So maybe he's just getting that extra in room extension. Maybe he's just getting more pressurization with the sealed sub, I would assume, whereas he's kind of missing out on that on the ported.
Yeah, it's hard to say exactly what's going on, but one other benefit of a sealed cabinet subwoofer is their ability to benefit from room gain. Typically, this is when you place it in the corner loading the subwoofer. You could actually get close to 3 dB of extra output and another hertz or two deep or low frequency extension if you have it set up correctly. And we try to create this sense of acoustically tuned room gain, not just extra boom, which some subwoofers can do. They'll just sound louder, but it's not tuned correctly. It doesn't sound good. So that's another benefit that you don't get from the ported cabinet subwoofer, is the ability to kind of use the room to enhance the output and the extension to a level that's even beyond what the subwoofer's rated at.
Yeah, I've learned that myself. Like I didn't know that like when I first started YouTube, but after getting so many subwoofers sealed and ported, I've learned to really appreciate and just really prefer sealed subs, just because of that. You don't get that super steep
Punch.
roll off, and the room gain is just like tremendous if you have enough subs or just one really big subwoofer, and you just don't get that with the ported subs. It might not be as loud, but I mean, if you want to be real like accurate, I've always found that sealed subs.
Yeah, I've always found that sealed subs are punchier in the higher bass frequencies.
Yeah.
There's just a visceral punch to them and an accuracy that's just really hard to get with a ported sub. Not saying all ported subs are like that. There's a lot of different designs depending on the size of the cabinet and a lot of factors. You get more bang for your buck, as a rule, with a ported sub. But if you're looking for smack, slam, and accuracy, and like Nick was saying, if you can take advantage of the room to get them play lower, I greatly prefer sealed subs myself.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to recommend.
Here's a question for Nick here from Jeff Pera. Is it possible to mix SVS subs? Is it recommended? I have a PB4000 and there is no way I could fit a second.
So the golden rule when mixing subwoofers, whether it's SVS or not SVS, is don't mix ported and sealed. You can cause phase issues where they're sort of out of sync just based on the response time. So you definitely don't want to mix, I think, would you have a PB4000 with an SB4000? But you could mix a PB4000 with a smaller ported subwoofer, and you can do certain things within the app and within the AV receiver to get those blended. And our team is happy to work with you, or I'm sure one of our phenomenal dealers that are with us here today would be able to help you with that as well. But you generally want to keep them close to the same in terms of driver size and amplifier power, and just make sure you're not doing sealed and ported, which again can do more harm than good when you're actually going dual. And we've had people ask, can I run your ported subwoofers in sealed mode with a sealed subwoofer? And the answer is not ideal, but it's a much better scenario than just mixing the ported and sealed by themselves. So, there is an option there if you wanted to bring a sealed subwoofer into the equation and you're going to run that PB4000 in sealed mode. Again, not going to be perfect, but it will be a lot better than trying to mix it just straight up with a sealed subwoofer. So, mixing between different brands, again, not highly recommended. They just, they're not voiced like speakers. A subwoofer doesn't have voicing. If it does those 5 things well, it's going to be great. But they just have different response times. They have different qualities with the cabinet construction, things like that, which can all provide more of a distracting effect than the benefits they provide of actually going dual. So that's what I would caution against. And those are some of the sort of insights that we've picked up from dealing with a lot of people who are trying to do these different things.
And just a reminder, guys, make sure you comment down below your favorite demo scenes if you want to be entered to win an SB1000 subwoofer.
Watching them all.
Yeah, I want to make a playlist here too. We need some new content for our shows, and let's include streaming TV. That's one of the things I'm like pissed about, is the fact that we can't bring streaming TV to these shows because I've been watching some some really phenomenal bass demo, streaming TV shows.
What are you
I think
watching right now, Nick?
the most recent one is Invasion on Apple TV. I think Apple TV does amazing with their
Yeah.
audio.
They're awesome. Yeah.
That, and then I just started Monarch too. I'm only one episode in, but I feel like that's building towards something with, basically the origin story of Godzilla or whatever it is. That's going to give me some good tactile bass as well. And then Game of Thrones, things like that. Like there's a ton of them out there. What was the other one? Gen Z, and the one that preceded that, the sort of superhero.
The Boys?
Yeah, The Boys. Thank
The
you.
Boys, yeah.
Like they had some great scenes as well, but you can't bring those to shows. So I'm hoping there's a way that they're going to allow us to clip those or somehow capture those and bring them, because it's some of the best content out there for demoing.
You should
stuff.
check out For All
Give us ideas.
Mankind on Apple. That's a
Which
really
one?
good- For All Mankind. on
Okay.
Apple.
Jot
Yeah,
it down.
it's better than The Invasion. You'll
Okay.
like it. If you like it.
Actually, it's recommending it to me now because I'm watching Invasion. So there you go.
Do you need isolation feet on your subwoofer?
There's no downside, but you're going to see a lot more benefit if you actually have issues within your room, like, windows rattling, if you have, knickknacks that are falling off the wall when you're really pushing your subwoofer. Basically what it does is it decouples. The isolation system are these little feet, and they fit on other subwoofer brands too, not just SVS. And you screw them onto the bottom of your sub, and it decouples it from the floor. So any energy, any vibrational force that's been going into the floors and walls will now be redirected into the air. And again, that just keeps you from getting some of those distracted, light fixtures moving around. In the case of my colleague Larry, he knocked all of his wife's makeup into the toilet because she had it right on the edge of the counter. And that was not a good day for Larry because he had to drop like $400 at
Larry.
Ulta to replace it all.
That's actually a really great product that you guys sell, those isolation feet. I feel even a little more strongly. I feel like they tighten up the bass a little bit. Now, I know that maybe it's acoustic, if I just invented that word.
No, Don, it's not. I actually
make a
at CES last year let's just say at CES last year, I interviewed some people after they heard the exact same set of speakers with isolation feet and without it, and
Right.
everybody
heard a difference. Yeah.
Everybody heard a difference, and it was the exact same speakers with and without. And I would say if you're on a second level, like if you're on the second story of a home, it's even more important. I had a customer that added them in after having his home theater for a year and a half, and I had him do a testimonial because he was just raving to me at how much better the bass response was. Because instead of just reverberating through the floor joists and the walls, you're decoupling it, like Nick said, and you're feeling the bass hit you rather than just the reverb of the room.
Another thing that you can use them for it, and I know Nick has seen a lot of clients stack multiple subs, and when you stack subs on top of each other, that's another great use for those isolation feet.
Those are all great points. And I should have mentioned, I know a lot of subwoofer mythology has been around pissing off the neighbors, but when you add the isolation system, you can actually be a better neighbor, especially if you have a townhouse or if you're closely residing next to somebody and their windows are rattling. It just helps attenuate some of that. I actually have a kid in college right now, and I set him up with a nice little 2.1 system for his dorm room, and he had 3 or 4 noise complaints in the first semester. So I sent him a couple of these.
Who complains about noise in college?
The RA, people studying. Like, come on, what are we here for? We're here to listen to music and party. Who needs to study? Yeah, finals time they have whatever, dark hours and whatnot. I think he got a little overzealous. So, they can work for that. We've also had people use them for components to allow better airflow. You put them on amplifiers, things that create heat, gives you a little better airflow. People use them on turntables, where vibrational energy can affect sort of the performance of the tone arm and things like that. And then the last example, we have one customer who's put them on pretty much every product that he has, all of his speakers, all of his subwoofers, and he loved it so much he actually put it on his dryer, because his dryer, I think he probably just puts too much crap in it, but like it was shaking so much that he's like, you know what? It kept it from moving across the floor, and his laundry room was on the second floor, and he was like, I'm not sure we're going to use that as a case study, but if it works for you, buddy.
Not a bad idea.
More power to you.
That's a
one
great
of the biggest
product that gets no love that you guys sell.
One of the biggest benefits or issues that we've run into or had struggle with are sconces rattling, and it really helps cut back on the depending on the sconce you have. Just that's one of the biggest problems we've had in home theater setting them up is just those sconces. Everybody wants to go with fancy, nice looking sconces that match the decor, but they rattle like crazy. So the isolation feet help out big time.
He's right.
Yeah.
It's funny too. There's this like segment of people who, maybe they're in denial, but they like the rattle. They like, because that's part of the experience is hearing my windows go, or like hearing this, stuff all around my room shaking. And then, they'll get a set of these and they're like, oh no, it's way better now. Like I'm actually feeling and experiencing what the director, the artist, whoever intended me to, and it's not my room sort of adding this resonant effect that is more distracting than anything.
People like the rattle.
Yeah, and it's like until they experience without it, and then it's like, wait, okay, now I'm more immersed. I'm feeling the content a little bit more, convincingly, I guess you could say, and it's sort of an eye opener.
I will say, when I was reviewing your the SB3000s, I had them placed both in the front of the room, left and right, and I started watching. I think it was Godzilla vs Kong. I was like, wow. I was like, something is up with that sub on the right side of the room. It sounds like it's broken or something like that because it was just overly barren, just boomy. And then it took me like a few minutes. It took me like 15 minutes. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, oh, I got the feet. I put the feet on the one side, and I didn't have it on the other side. It was just I think there's little points on them or something like that. And then
it's real. It's a real effect.
It's a real thing. And then I put the feet on. And I was like, there it is. I was like, all that rattling, the boominess was just gone on the right side now. Everything was very tightly focused. Listen, I didn't believe it myself, and I was just like, I just put them on there just because I feel like. Sometimes I'll flip them upside down because it makes it easier to slide across the floor. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, it really doesn't matter. So I always kind of use them upside down. But then after I heard the difference, I was like, oh man, these are actually legit. They actually do work. None of this shit that you guys write on your website is like BS. So this is like the truth. And I've got so many pairs of these because I've had so many subwoofers in my room. I think I've had like maybe 8 subs at one point in time, so I had to go to Magnolia and buy a bunch of them because I didn't want to hit you up for some freebies. so I went and bought so many of them, and now I have like almost like 24 of these those feet now in my room. And I put them on every subwoofer that I get.
It's like, well, we got to talk about the cheapest product we make.
Honestly, I was actually about to say, I mean, you guys make amazing subwoofers, but one category that isn't really discussed a whole lot is your really affordable and growing accessory lineup. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, Nick?
Yeah, I'd love to. I will say, one of the things that, we've been, I wouldn't say criticized, but people are like, well, if these isolation systems, if these feet are so great, why don't they just come standard on every subwoofer? And simple answer is they add a little bit of cost, and we're always trying to deliver best performance for the price. And the other side is if you have a concrete subfloor, if you built a bunker for your home theater, you're not going to notice the benefits as much. So it's a $50 expense for the four pack, $60 for the 6-pack. So it's not an exorbitant amount for somebody to have to buy after the fact if they are noticing these things. But to your point, Zach, the accessories have become one of the fastest growing parts of our business. Cool. Because again, we're trying to bring the same kind of value proposition that we've done with subwoofers and speakers, that really sort of high end look and feel and performance and not feeling like you're compromising, but doing at a price point that's a little bit more inclusive. We've got premium speaker cable, but then we've also got bulk, speaker cable that comes in spools. We ventured into HDMI as well, 8K, 2.1A certified. So, all the latest specs on there. Wireless adapters for your subwoofer. If people don't want to have to, they're putting it in the back of their room, they don't want a long cable run. The wireless adapters, the original version, then a tri-band version, which allows you to basically cycle through different bandwidths and find the most stable of those bandwidths within your home network to create the best wireless connection to your subwoofer. And then RCA, optical, XLR, pretty much everything that you would need to connect all of your speaker and subwoofer system together is available from our SoundPath accessory line. And that's part of what we're trying to do is, again, not to grow out of that. SVS is a subwoofer company, and certainly that's our pedigree. We're never going to walk away from that. We're never going to take that for granted. But if we can bring what we brought to the subwoofer game to accessories and to speakers, then we think we're doing a good thing. So that's why, to Zach's point, they go sort of under the radar a little bit. But, when you look at what is growing within the SVS side of things, they are one of the fastest growing parts of our business. And they've been just a real success for us in terms of, building our brand beyond subwoofers.
And Nick, can we touch on your wireless subwoofer? Because, as we're an integrator, so solutions like that are important. And we actually use a lot of wireless subwoofer units. Now, the reason I want to bring that up is there's a lot of people that may want to add subs to parts of the room, but they don't want to pay somebody to run the wires. They can't run the wires. They don't want to run them across the floor. I wanted people to know, after boots on the ground experience using these, I found no latency. I found no delay that's audible. I mean, it's literally, to me, like having a cable. And I think that's important. And you should just touch on what a great product that is and how it helps consumers have more flexibility in placement of their subwoofer.
Yeah, I'll first say they are full range, so you could actually connect them to powered speakers as well. It's not just for subwoofers, but obviously the main practical use case is for subwoofers. And, let's be blunt. Subwoofers are pretty much the largest piece of AV equipment you're going to have in your system, and it's not always a perfect scenario to have them right on the front stage where you can just run that wire to the AV receiver to the rack and have it be completely hidden. Sometimes you got to put it on the other side of the room, especially with duals. So this just gives you the opportunity to have that wireless connection. It's got about 50 to 80 feet in range, depending on where, which model of the wireless adapter you choose, which is generally enough space for people to set it up pretty much anywhere. One caveat: if you are running duals, you're going to want to use wireless adapters on both of them or run cables on both of them. You mentioned, and I've experienced it too, the latency is like inaudible. You can't really tell one versus the other. But if you have the cable and you have the wireless adapter, there's always the potential for some sort of interference that could, make that much more noticeable. So, again, these have been something that have brought a lot of people the ability to run duals when they couldn't prior. So that's a great benefit of them. And again, with the full range functionality that they have, it opens it up beyond the subwoofer game too.
Can't you run a pair of SVS subs with the appropriate built-in receiver with one transmitter? I may be wrong on that, but
nope, you're correct. We have if you reach out to our team, we can get you a kit that has a single transmitter that connects to your AV receiver, and that'll put out a signal to two subwoofers.
Yeah, guys, that's a great option if you're trying to move subwoofers or put them in different positions in the room. And aesthetically, you don't want to have to run or can't run wires. You don't want to drape them across the floor. You don't want to carpet tuck them. You want to have that ability. But people, I think, may be a little afraid of wireless transmission. And I'm here to tell you, I haven't tried them on the full range side, but I know on the low frequency side, they've worked incredibly well.
I'll back you up on that too, Don. I've installed hundreds of them and actually have a little micro video coming showing the setup process on a customer's system where we put in a PC 4000, and I even just love how clean it mounts to the back. That one doesn't have built-in wireless, but it mounts super clean. And the customer he gave a great testimonial. You guys will see that coming up on our YouTube channel here soon. But I mean, we've tried it with all different types of speakers. I mean, Nick, I feel like 6 years ago we made a YouTube video on how to do that, or maybe that was with Larry. I think that was with Larry.
Well, you were like what, 20 when that happened, Zach?
Yeah, something like that.
18.
The production value has gone way uphill since then, Zach. You're doing some killer short form these days, so props to you for that.
Hey,
I know
thanks,
we're here
Nick.
to talk about subs, but holistically, SVS as a company, their tower speakers. I just got some time listening to their prime powered speakers. Let me tell you guys, if you want to do a bedroom setup, a computer setup, I mean, they are incredible. They are really great, especially for the money. It's like everything SVS makes. It's a tremendous value, and I'm not paid to say that. I'm just telling you. I've listened to them, and I test, like you guys, some of the best audio on the planet, and those are legit option.
Yeah, it's a very competitive space, the power bookshelf speaker, and we wanted to take an approach where we offered all the connectivity, all of the control functionality, that somebody would want to have sort of a modern audiophile experience, but then also not compromise one bit on the sound quality aspect. We have the 24-bit 192 kilohertz DAC, so you're able to render, that most high resolution content from Tidal, from Qobuz, from those streaming services. It's got HDMI, so you can connect it directly to your TV and have it be a soundbar replacement. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've never streamed music to a soundbar. But this allows you to kind of go from, having a nice little 2.0 or 2.1 system, providing sort of a mini home theater experience, to shutting off the TV, and now you're putting on your music while you're having a dinner party, or throwing down with a little dance party. So it gives you that sort of versatility. But then from the control aspect, DTS Play-Fi, I'm not going to say it is the greatest of all platforms for running wireless products, but I will say it adds a lot in terms of its multi-room functionality, and a lot of with its critical listening mode and some other features. And we learned with the first go round that not everybody wants to master a new app when they buy a product like this. So we layered on Apple AirPlay 2 and Chromecast, which now allows you to bypass Play-Fi and still have CD quality wireless streaming and get all the benefits of the Prime Wireless Pro powered speakers, but do it with a direct connection to your favorite music streaming services.
Don't they have a subwoofer output on them?
They do have a subwoofer output with an automatic 80 hertz high pass filter,
Yep.
so you can connect the subwoofer right to them. We did make the cabinets a little bit bigger, the driver a little bit bigger from the first go around, so they have a pretty good amount of bass output as it is. But larger listening areas, or folks who really want to unleash it with certain types of music, they're going to benefit from that subwoofer. And our 1000 Pros or our Micro, even the 2000 Pros are great matches for the Prime
I would
Wireless.
recommend a pair of those and a Micro over one of the higher end Sonos or other brand sound bars all day long.
Yeah.
If you're going to do a 2.1, it's just a night and day difference on it.
Yeah.
It's a great setup. And then we have all of that functionality that I just mentioned in a 2-channel wireless integrated amp as well, called the Prime Wireless Pro Sound Base. So this basically takes all of that technology I just had and brings it to passive speakers. So essentially brings passive speakers into the streaming era, with app control and all the streaming functionality, full high res, and you can also connect that to your TV as well via HDMI. So it could be the basis of a nice 2.1 system if you got an old pair of speakers sitting around that you want to bring back to life and modernize a bit.
So Nick, I own a pair of SP3000s, and I obviously have owned substantially more expensive subs and whatnot. I got to tell you, I love those subs, and I kind of find them a sweet spot in your line. I was just curious how well those sell, because those SP3000s are phenomenal. They play loud, they're flexible, they look nice. I like the grills. Some people might not. I think the grills are kind of cool. Is that a popular sub in your line, or one of the more popular subs?
Yeah, it's I think this year it became our most popular subwoofer selling SKU, for the exact reason you said. It's right in the middle of our lineup. It's relatively compact. It's not that much bigger than the SP1000 Pro, yet the output that it creates in the extension is significantly better. It's sort of unassuming. It really kind of catches you off guard for what it can do. There's some pretty big innovations that we did with the voice coil to really make it produce a much larger, deeper bass experience. It's the split wound, edge wound setup where our engineer could explain it a lot better, but it gives it better linearity, and it takes a lot of the strain off of creating that sort of big over-the-top bass experience, but from a smaller cabinet. So there's some innovations in there that you wouldn't necessarily pick up on unless you took the thing apart. But you're exactly right. It's right in the middle of our lineup, and just this year, I think, folks like you have been getting the word out. It's become our most popular subwoofer.
It's a really great. I replaced a pair of JLs with it, and I was worried I was gonna miss them, but I really don't. So
yeah,
and I love DL subs, but
and the whole 3000 series pedigree, it started with the SP3000 and the PB3000, but now we've blended that same technology into the 3000 Micro and our 3000 in-wall subwoofer. So, it's been such a popular line for us that we adapted a lot of the technology from within that first series of the SP and PB and brought it into our first Micro and our first in-wall subwoofer. And now those have really been catching fire as far as
we
their
should do
popularity.
another video on the in-wall. That would probably be a whole video. I know we're getting close on time.
Yeah, we're getting close to 6 o'clock. So Don, did you pick a winner?
Well,
The favorite demo scene.
There's a lot of my favorites that people have been posting. I would say the runner-up would probably be the Ready Player One scene. I know
Don, there's no runner-up.
runner-up.
We'll give the cable. No, we'll give the Subwoofer
The
cable.
runner-up.
You are the first loser.
The one I like the best, and just I think it's the whole movie's exercise in bass. There's a lot of things going on, but you can clearly define the bass was Midway. Midway is a movie you just don't see a lot of demos on, and I think it's one of the best bass demos. I think John Sandoval put that up there, Johnny. So I would have to say that's I mean, my personal favorite nobody posted is from a movie called Open Range. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that movie. What's that?
No, that's not a children's
That's what I
movie,
said.
right? Because there was a
Open Range. It's a Western.
Oh,
But it has a gunfight at the end, and it is the absolute best sound editing you'll ever hear in a movie. It is the most realistic. As a firearms instructor, I can tell you it's the most realistic gunfight that you'll ever experience in a movie. If you haven't checked that out, do it. But I would say Midway is probably my favorite of all that I've seen.
Is that older? Open Range?
It's from the early way back in 2003. But it's got Kevin Costner. It's a fantastic movie. But I'm telling you, the gunfight scene at the end, you guys should you should have that in all your demos at SVS. It is freaking amazing. It is a killer demo.
It's funny you say that. You know, as a firearm instructor, like one thing we've shied away from a bit is these 2-channel hi-fi shows is playing those big over-the-top gunfight demos, or it's like
you're an instructor. Okay.
But you know what? We're the guilty pleasure. We might have to bring some some of that for the next time.
But it's like they're firing the Colt 45s and the Henry rifles or the Winchesters. And dude, Nick, as soon as you get home after getting your kid and he's going to get his belt, I know he is. You need to fire that up on even streaming it. It is a killer bass demo. But Midway, I really love holistically the battle when they're attacking Pearl Harbor. Some of the other factors in the movie, some of the other battle scenes when they're flying in the airplanes, and you got that low grumble, which is a test for subwoofers. The explosions, the heavy machine guns firing. It's a visceral experience for bass. A lot of these movies have great scenes, like a one-hit wonder, but overall, Midway has just a plethora of great demo scenes on it.
It looks like it's on Prime Video and Apple TV, so I'm gonna
it's on Prime.
Jump in there.
Check it out, man. But
All right.
Midway, I would say is my.
Well, Nick, thanks for joining us today. Thank you for giving away a subwoofer as well.
Yeah, get the shipping information. We'll get that out
will, for
tomorrow. Sure. And congratulations to whoever suggested. Was it Midway? Did I get that right?
Midway, John Sandoval. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, congrats. We're happy to do it, and we love what you're doing, Shane, with the podcast and just in general for building interest around this hobby. It needs it. So, appreciate all the contributions you've made.
Great, man. Thank you.
Cool. And
thanks,
look, Nick and the whole crew at SVS, I've had nothing, but great experiences with these guys at audio shows. They're always open and wanting to talk. They make great products, and their customer service is just absolutely phenomenal. So, they're almost a standard in home theater. Everybody talks about it, and there's a reason for that.
I appreciate it.
And the best customer service in the biz, the best.
Yeah.
That's not even like a lie.
We're like, you got a problem with
best.
the sub? We're like, you got one on the way right now. Don't worry about it.
And we're not going to, guarantee we're going to be the loudest, biggest, baddest, but we will provide an ownership experience that's second to none. And that's part of who we are as a brand, and we'll never deviate.
Or PV21 coming out. That's what I want. Come on now.
I mean, I teased an app update. I'm not going to go that far, Don.
I did have a Patreon question before you leave. I already know what you're going to say. Is there going to be a subwoofer next year with dual drivers in it, like dual 18s or dual 16s? And is there also going to be an SVS 18-inch subwoofer?
So I can answer the first one and say no. There's not going to be a dual 16. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Bummer.
All right, Will World, you got your answer. All right.
PV18.
PV18 Ultra.
PV18 Ultra Max.
Not to say we never will. It just won't be next year. So.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll take that.
Zach, it's good to see you, brother. Shane.
Yeah, nice to see you as well.
Yeah,
thanks for coming on.
We're all logging off right now because I figured maybe Zack had some stuff to say after Nick. All right. So Nick, we're gonna kick Nick off right now because he's got to go pick up his kid. So thanks, Nick. We'll see you again soon, very soon, hopefully.
Absolutely. We're down anytime, and we'll have to have you on the audiophile happy hour at some point too, Shane. We'd
Yeah,
love
for
to
sure.
pick your
Just let
brain
me
too.
know. I do nothing
You're
all
going to
day.
have Shane,
All
but
right.
not me. All right, I see how it is.
And you're not too far from me locally too, so maybe we can sync up in person sometime. We'll have
Oh
to
yeah,
see.
for sure. Yeah, let me know.
Play
Thanks,
that
gentlemen.
demo, Nick.
All right,
For
later,
sure.
Nick.
Happy listening.
Nice seeing you, Nick.
Yep.
See ya. Oh man, that's cool, guys. So Nick from SVS. So congrats, John, for winning the subwoofer. And listen, if you guys want to save money on your Mint Mobile, on your cell phone bill, sign up for Mint Mobile. Let's try mintmobile.com/Shane Lee. So Zach. Oh, there's a question here. There's a question in here. I got a super chat for $4.99. Let me answer this from Mark Gigliotti. Thoughts on Odyssey Multi QX versus Direct Live? I have both on the Denon, and I feel Odyssey is better by a significant margin. I'm gonna leave it up to you guys because you guys are doing this like every day while I go
think
take a
the
quick little
Odyssey,
break.
from a simple standpoint setup, Odyssey usually sounds a little bit better. It doesn't modify it quite so much. But I think if you really know how to use Direct Live and have a really good microphone on a laptop, um, Direct's definitely the 800-pound gorilla. But
Yeah, I mean, you just need to
it's
be a
more
professional.
time consuming and more intricate.
Yeah, the new Odyssey, though, on these new cinema receivers and the AV10 with the
They're great.
independent bass control for the 4 subs, it's pretty legit for an average consumer. I can see where he's coming from. If you haven't played with Direct Live or if you're not a professional calibrator, I could
Mhm.
see how you could fall in love with the Odyssey. The new format, even their interface looks
Great.
amazing. I mean, it's a great software.
What's that, Odyssey?
Yeah,
The newer
for the
Odyssey.
average consumer, if you're not a professional calibrator, if you don't
Okay.
know, how to use Direct, I could definitely see Odyssey right out of the box.
None of these auto calibration systems are worth anything to me, really, unless you got a really good microphone and you're running them through a PC. If you're just plugging a cheap mic in the front that they come with, you're just not really getting the full advantage of them. And even then, once you calibrate them, you're going to want to make tweaks to the sound that sounds best to you. Don't believe that a computer or a software or a chip and a receiver, if you're not happy with the sound, make adjustments to it because it matters what you like. Every time we do these auto calibrations, we always want clients want more bass output and then they want more surrounds every single time. And between Zack and I, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of systems.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we're talking about, the real home theater enthusiast, the real diehard, I want the perfect sound. I want it to sound like a mixing studio or an actual theater. With Dirac and Odyssey, aren't they supposed to take care of like time alignment, phase adjustments, all that stuff? Does one of those systems do it better than the other?
Well, yeah, Direct Live is definitely a more intricate calibration software, but I think even for the average home theater enthusiast who does know what they're doing, I think they're gonna have a better chance of getting the performance that they're looking for personally by just playing with I made a video on this, the Odyssey application. If you have a Denon Marantz, download the application and you can go into the audio settings after you've run the basic calibration and adjust your channel
Bingo.
level.
Right.
And you can always default it back, but that's the first place that I point all of our customers if they're wanting to play around with it, is because you can just quickly and easily just tweak your surrounds, tweak your sub, tweak your center, whatever. And then if you get it, too far out of whack, you can always just default it.
Yeah, well, you get your phasing and you get your delays, and there's just certain things the human ear can't do, or it's harder to do with an RTA meter or SPL meter or whatever. I always try to laser aim my speakers because I know technically they have different distances based on the room and whatnot. I just find that doing those measurements is a little bit more accurate to my ears. But yeah, run your system, do your system, then don't be afraid to calibrate it. And if you got the money, I mean, there's a plethora of people out there that can calibrate your systems for not a ton of money. I mean, if you've got a theater with these technologies, you've already invested a sizable amount of money. Why not go the extra distance and have that done?
Calibration is key. I won't
It's
name
important.
any companies, but we've gone into a lot of homes where customers they have great equipment and they're like not happy with the performance. We'll check the AVR settings and it's all zeroed out. I'm just like,
Yeah.
calibration is everything.
The guy said that Sonos will make you happy for life. Well, I mean, if great sound's not important to you, absolutely. It's ease of use over sound quality. Sonos sounds pretty good. I do a lot of Sonos systems, but I would never be satisfied with one.
What we do a lot is the UI. We'll put in their Sonos amps.
They're not bad.
Their user interface is amazing, and then just
Until
put in
you-
better quality
Yeah.
speakers.
That's why they've exploded, and they sound pretty good. But when you compare them to a true high fidelity system, they break down real quick. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, they're a simple kind of
Yeah,
simple
they're great.
fixed kind of system. Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah, it's not like
A lot of people don't care. A
Yeah.
lot of people. Can't tell you how many times people are like, I can't hear the difference. I'm like, well, no, you've never listened to what you're saying.
Yeah,
You can't
yeah,
tell
that's
the
different for sure.
No,
It's a-
don't. Sonos has absolutely changed the market. I mean, they're the Bose 2000. I mean, they really are. Their app's great. Their flexibility is great, and they do sound pretty good. Their subs actually not bad, but
The Sonos, yeah.
don't
Yeah.
ever claim that you're going to satisfy everybody with the sound that comes from them because it's just not. It's just not true.
This is for you, Don. I'm going to be making a movie room soon. Once I move, should I put soundproof foam on the walls? Any advice? This
Well-
will be a first-time small room theater, mind you. Thank you.
All right, so you don't put soundproof foam on anything on the wall is to control sound inside the room. Has nothing to do with sound mitigation, meaning sound that leaves the room.
Yep.
Really, there's a couple ways to do it. Foam doesn't really do a whole lot. Insulation, I know a lot of people do that. So really, airspace is the best insulator. So if you could double stud the walls, or there's some devices that you can put on your studs and maybe use double drywall if you can. If sound mitigation is a concern, if you're worried about waking up the kids or upsetting your wife, really that's important. But inside the room, acoustic treatments, whether it be diffusers, absorbers, or bass traps, is really the secret sauce. So you're mechanically treating the room. There's two ways to correct sound. First of all is mechanically treating the room. Absorbers, diffusers, bass traps, yada, 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 that make a substantial difference. Make really a much, much, much bigger difference than people ever know until they do it. Then you do your calibration on top of that. So I would highly recommend that you slice out a budget for doing that. If you want to do sound mitigation, insulation in the wall is going to do nothing. I'll tell you that right now. Really, airspace and trying to decouple the drywall as best you can from the studs or furring strips if it's a concrete wall is going to be your best choice by far. Now you might lose a little bit of room space, so think about that as you're designing it. But soundproofing is a word we never use because how it is actually possible, but it's exponentially. It's so expensive. It's economically unfeasible. Like it's so expensive to soundproof, and even then, but you can definitely mitigate a few dBs of sound transmission to other rooms.
Here's a question. Here's a question for both of you guys. Do you find this statement true? Poor clients always complain. Rich people don't.
Well, poor clients use their stuff a lot more than rich people do. Rich people have a little bit of everything, but they definitely do their share of complaining. But as a rule, that's kind of true. And I wouldn't say poor people. I would say people that this is something they've saved for. It's a sizable investment. You know, they've allocated space in their home or a room, and they're trying to build it. But you know, usually wealthier people have bigger budgets and we're able to do a lot of these things that eliminate the complaints. Does that make sense? What do you think, Zach?
I mean, I'm not sure what really what they're referring to by complain. I mean,
But
I like to
but
think that
people
all of our
Sonos.
customers are happy.
Oh my god.
That's how we maintain that 5-star
Smash that
review, man.
subscribe button.
If you're not
Come on,
happy,
Zack.
we're gonna make you happy.
Yeah.
We won't stop until you're happy.
Oh goodness gracious, Zach! My system.
No
is
matter
just
what
excellent, but
price
I have
point
to
you're
complain. I know.
Shane hit me up today. They were gonna send me the 21-inch RBH.
What?
Yeah, but as you guys can see, I'm in a bedroom, so I got no place to put
You
it.
at 21?
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a call after this.
Hey, sorry, guys. My bedroom has a golden ear tower speaker in here and a lightsaber on top of it. I got no place to put a 21-inch. I've seen some expensive treatment and some for Amazon that look expensive, but an inch smaller. Does this matter? I believe that most of that is just like absorption for different frequencies. It's not like soundproofing. You're not going to keep sound from going into the other room.
Yeah, I think what he's saying is there a difference between quality and the type of material that's used to build the acoustic treatments? The answer is yes. Give us a call and we can put together a full acoustic package for you, and then you can compare that next to Amazon and see what you think.
Here's a little hint.
But we sold it.
It's going to be more than $25 on Amazon.
Oh, Don got the saber. All right.
Oh, gosh.
I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
But I know what that comment is about. Like, as an example, there's this theater that you're going to see coming up here in the next couple weeks on our channel, which is like an upgrade. He's been upgrading slowly. He started with the video. I sent you a picture of this one, Don. He did the JVC 3100 and
Yeah, that's a dope
SI
room.
screen,
Yeah.
and then he upgraded his Focal 1000 front sound stage and added in some RTJ 18s. And long story short, he started out with those super thin, cheap. I don't know where he got them, but he's not happy with the acoustic performance, and we're going to go back and get a testimonial from him after the install is complete, and that'll give you a little window, a little insight into the difference between more professional solutions and some of the very basic options that are available on the internet.
Doesn't matter what's out there. Somebody can do it better themselves. That's what they.
Well, there's more than just absorption. Like, I'm sure that guy was just looking at some absorption panels, and like this customer I'm referring to, I think that happens to a lot of people. He just ended up with a bunch of those foam pieces all over his walls, which are great. But like you said earlier, Don, it's more than just absorption. You need some diffusion. You need bass traps. So if you want the room to perform well, schedule a consultation.
If you're buying your acoustic panels on Amazon, they're probably not going to work like you want them to. Not that they're bad. They should be about 4 inches thick, and most of them are 2 or smaller.
Mm-hmm.
You're just not going to get that frequency absorption that you want, that you're going to get with a little bit higher end panel. You can definitely make your own panels, but I mean, you got to have the right tools and wood and things to do that. But acoustic treatments are critical to your overall sound quality. I've got some people I know in the business that think ARC or some of these calibration systems are going to solve all your woes, and they're just not. There's just things you just can't solve digitally.
I've heard stuff about the Room Perfect, where you don't need room acoustics. Have you ever used that? Anybody?
What is like snake oil? I mean, Room Perfect. You don't need acoustic treatments.
Are you
Lingdorf.
talking about art?
No, Lingdorf uses it, and so does Macintosh.
Oh God, yeah. Well, they tell you that, dude, because they want you to spend $250,000. I guarantee you, it's just science, dude. I mean,
I heard it firsthand because I was at the
yeah?
House of Sound a couple months ago, and I heard it on there. They had some Sonos Fobbers set up. I don't know all the models off the top of my head, but their point was that the Room Perfect. Yeah. Now that you reminded me of the brands that offer it, the Macintosh had it built in, and they had just a wall of windows, and it may have helped, but at the end of the day, there's no, like Don said, there's no calibration software out there that can help whenever it's a reflective floor, reflective walls, and glass. It's like maybe it made it
How
better.
do you prevent like first reflections digitally? I don't understand, because you're physically putting sound out like this, and it's reflecting off a wall, and the main sound's going to hit your ear, and a millisecond later, the other one's going to do it. How do you digitally solve that? I mean, I'm not saying science won't come up with something to do that, and I'm sure, Lindorf and McIntosh are both incredibly brilliant, reputable audio companies at high end, but to tell you don't need acoustic treatments on that is just marketing hype.
Yeah, that'd be a great video to bring the manufacturer on to discuss that in more detail, because it is an interesting sales pitch for sure.
Bro, can
because
we
it is
get?
a huge problem.
Can you arrange Macintosh to come on?
Well, you got the
Zach.
pretty blue
Zach can
lights
do that.
mesmerize you.
Yeah, let's in the future. We definitely need to do that.
Oh,
But
okay.
they're both great products. I mean, they're just, I don't know about that. So
Well, I mean, the big problem is all of these high-end two-channel guys want to put these gorgeous speakers in these rooms that suck. I mean,
beautiful.
Yeah.
so they're just trying to create a solution. So you got to, applaud them for trying. But at the end of the day,
Like
dedicated
the
space.
Macintosh showroom you were at in New York, it's like they have like
Yo,
it's in
where's
like
the
a
video,
high-end
dude? I've been
apartment
waiting for that
in New
video.
York.
I don't want to get into it, but it's in the
Never
works.
mind.
You know what helps? Is the curtain. To a
just gotta
point,
keep
curtains
reading.
actually help act as a diffuser. Heavy curtains do.
Yeah. And I've even noticed, like you can see right here, these shades make a massive difference.
What you were
Fabric
showing
roller
them?
shades.
What kind of shades are those?
Roller shades. SI, Screen Innovations.
Big
roller shades.
innovations.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
it has some
It's like-
absorption properties.
Well, I mean, it's better than hitting the glass. It makes a big difference in this formal room right here and my upstairs media room.
SI roller, like Screen Innovations roller shades.
Screen Innovations. Yeah, actually, a lot of people don't know, but Screen Innovations shades are a huge part of their business now. And they
Really?
make
Probably the
really
majority of it.
competitive.
As opposed to like some Home Depot type of brands.
No, they're
Our
much better
best-
than that.
They're better.
way better.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
There's
so-
a huge difference in shades. Huge difference.
So the top two are Lutron, in my mind, Lutron and SI. And the reason I went with SI and really sold on them is
For shades, I'm talking about like home decor. You're gonna put SI in the
Well, they
same
make
group
every
as
kind of percentage of light input. They have a
yeah, you
plethora of
can do,
materials. Not as much as Lutron, but Lutron, about 30% higher. Lutron's probably the best shade that you can own. That and Crestron, but SI is real close, and it's a very great competitive value. And a lot of these shades, Shane,
yeah.
when you turn them on, they're like, they don't come down at the same
Yeah.
time. There's a lot of factors that go into it. It's a luxury product. SI is kind of the entry point into that. We sell a ton of SI shades.
Interesting. Because I used to work at like Home Depot, and I remember those shades were expensive. So I would assume that those were like the best of the best because it's
well,
home
all
decor.
shades are expensive, and like Home Depot sells the Lutron Savoy, I think is what it's called.
Yes, boy, the Lutron's a king, dude. The Lutron,
Yeah.
you don't even hear them when they come down. They've got about 3 times the option on shade material and colors, and they've got
SI's gotten a lot better, man.
gotten a
I
lot
mean,
better. Yeah.
and their motors are more quiet. One thing that they have, the main reason, we're really off topic here now that we're on shades.
That's
The
it's
main reason I
important.
went with
Yeah.
SI over Lutron this time around is I found myself in another retro installation for my personal home. I didn't get a chance to build the home from scratch,
You
so
get
no
batteries.
wiring. And the magnetic charging ports
Yep.
did it for me. You just plug it right in to charge it, and you're good to go. Those Lutron ones still have giant batteries, so I'm assuming Lutron will up their game in the future and put in something.
They've changed their
chargeable.
batteries a little bit, but most of what we do is pre-wired. We pre-wire, hardwired.
Yeah,
for the most
if you can
part.
hardwire, obviously that's the best. You don't have to think about it. But I like their cassettes too. They're super modern and clean. They can powder coat them to any color. Like if you look at the ones up here behind, you can hardly even tell. They're just, I had
Oh,
them
they look great at your place.
powder
They really
coated to
do.
the same color as the rest of the house, whatever the color my wife wanted, and they custom made them, and haven't had any regrets.
Interesting. All right. So, before we log off, what you got coming up there, Zach?
This weekend, potentially, there might be a Don Dunn and Kellen Fleener video coming out. Don made a visit over to Kentucky and visited Kellen, our national sales director, and got to experience our demo theater. Maybe you can shed a little light, Don, on how that.
Oh, it's a beautiful theater. I mean, Kellen's house is great. Kind of nestled out almost in the country. It's just a great place, but the theater's beautiful. I love the colors. I love the setup. He's got the Focal Utopias and a full Focal 1000 deployment in there with a couple RTJ subs. Great video. Got the big lounger with the D-box on it. He didn't miss a lick. It's a beautiful theater. I would be happy with it. I even like the size. It's not overly big.
Really? It looks huge in the videos.
It's just got nice size ceilings.
What are they, like 20 foot high? Because they look massive.
No, it's not that high, but
It's 12 with a 1 foot drop. Yeah.
Those ceilings are 12 foot. That's it.
And he's got it dropped a foot. So, tray, and then he's got the wood slats, but it's set up in a 9-6, right, Don? Configuration.
Yeah, it's a full tilt.
Yeah,
I don't think it's anything really.
And where is he today? I sent him a link. I sent him an email. He's always like, "You guys leave me. You always leaving me out, Shane." I've been sending him emails like every week.
I haven't been including him because he's just so slammed. Kellen is.
He's got 32 kids. So, I mean, he's really busy.
Yeah, and 5
He's
million
like a pickleball champion. I mean, he's got a lot going on.
Okay.
Yeah, that guy, man. Kellen is the man. He works.
You'll never
around the
find
clock to make sure
anybody more honest and attentive to help you with your home theater stuff than that guy. He's really wonderful. Just a super great person. Yeah, I've been to your house and his house, man.
What's great is for people who are watching this is you can also schedule an appointment to demo that system, and Kellen will pick you up in Nashville.
You guys are millionaires now. They're not millionaires. I don't think Zack is.
You guys are millionaires now. Zach, are you a millionaire? No comment.
No.
All right, well, let's log off here. Thanks guys for hanging out with us on the stream today, and congrats to John for winning the subwoofer. And if you guys want to check out a kick-ass subwoofer demo, check out Midway. That has been one of my go-to demos that I've always used. Not always, but previously has always used for my subwoofer demos. It's Midway. And also, if you want to get a great Atmos experience, Midway also, not only for bass, but for Atmos effects. Midway is a kick-ass
Check
demo.
out Open Range, the gunfight at the end.
Open Range.
In the movie, I'm telling you.
Open Range has Ashton Kutcher as the deer, and I believe something else as the other cartoon character.
You're an idiot.
So, thanks guys for hanging out with us. Check out the stream next week. We'll have somebody special on for you guys as well. Subscribe to me. Subscribe to Zach. Sign up for Mint Mobile. $15